Go for the 2.com in with the week 5 college predictions. Week number 4 did not disappoint. Great games from start to finish. It really sets the stage for an amazing weekend of college football. If you want all the instant analysis of the top 25 games, tune into Carver and Lisi every Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. to midnight, Sports Grid Radio, Sirius Channel 159. We go through all the top 25 battles, the complete slate, give you best bets on Friday. Then the College Football Studio Show, College Football Today, every Saturday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern, sportsgrid.com, Sports Grid Radio, and Sirius Channel 159. We get you prepped and ready for each Saturday across the top 25 landscape. Let's jump right into the games. It starts on Friday with the Pac-12 battle in Pasadena. Washington 4-0, UCLA 4-0. What will give in terms of the Rose Bowl Friday night? Which team will step up? And more importantly, which quarterback will challenge the opposing secondary over the top? Will it be Michael Penix, that's completing 64% of his passes, 1,388 yards, 12 touchdowns, and only one interception? Or will it be Dorian Thompson-Robinson that has really come on as of late, completing 74% of his passes, 8 touchdowns, 1 INT. He's averaging over 8 yards per carry on the ground. This is a UCLA team that knocked off Washington on the road last year, 24-17. Against Pac-12 opponents last year, Chip Kelly was 6-3 overall, won those 6 games by an average margin of victory of 19.4 points per game, lost the 3 games in conference by an average margin of defeat of 14 points per game. But I still buy into the rushing attack of DTR and Zach Carbonet, averaging 220 yards on the ground. Even though Washington's given up 83 yards to opposing offenses, playing at home, I still like the physicality of UCLA's offensive line. I like DTR in the spot. UCLA is converting 50% of their third down opportunities. I think Dorian Thompson-Robinson put some pressure on the Washington defense. I think they jump up early and force Washington to play from behind on the road. From a defensive perspective as well, you look at UCLA only allowing 87 rushing yards to opposing offenses, holding opposing offenses to right in the area of about 35% of third down conversions. I like Chip Kelly in this spot as an underdog, catching 2.5 points. I think they win a very close ball game, anywhere from 7 to 10 points on Friday night. This was my pick to win the Pac-12. I'm not backing down now, even though they have a game on deck against Utah. I think UCLA moves to 5-0 on the season in Friday night's action. It is a 10:30 kick. Saturday, SEC battle, Miss State, Texas A&M. Miss State has won 4 of the last 6, including last year, 26-22, when they were a 9.5-point underdog in College Station. This was the week before Alabama came to Kyle Field and challenged Zach Calzada as an 18.5-point favorite. They played down to the level of competition, lost the ball game outright, 26-22. Last week we had Max Johnson step up. They were laying 2.5 by game time. They held on for a 23-21 victory. They held on due to a last-second field goal attempt by Arkansas. It hits the upright, and Texas A&M prevails. In the loss, though, they lose their big play wide receiver, Aeneas Smith. He's gone for the year. That's going to put a lot of pressure on Max Johnson in this matchup. But I still like Max Johnson going up against the Miss State defense. A couple of reasons. Even though he only completed 51% of his passes last week, 150 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, he looks like a confident quarterback. They utilize Max Johnson in terms of the RPO game, and I still like the physicality in terms of the offensive line, running the football with Devin Achane going up against the front 7 of Mississippi State. Devin Achane braked out with a 159-yard performance. The offensive line got going against a very physical front 7 in Arkansas. Another reason why I like Max Johnson, go back to that game last year in Starkville when Max Johnson was with LSU. He already saw the defense last year. He had a very good game. It was early in the season. They won that matchup 28-25 in Starkville, built a first-half lead and never looked back. He completed 17-27, 280, 4 interceptions en route to the win. I like Max Johnson in the spot. I also like Texas A&M secondary. They're still only giving up about 52% completion percentage, 157 passing yards to opposing offenses. And let's look at the quarterbacks that they played. Chase Price with App State, pretty good team. Tyler Van Dyke, and then obviously last week with KJ Jefferson. On the flip side, we have Miss State that played Memphis, Bowling Green, and Arizona. Not elite competition by any standards. I like this matchup. I like Jimbo over Mike Leach. Jimbo catching 3 points as a road dog. Give me Max Johnson and the crew to pull that victory out in Starkville Saturday afternoon. Another big battle takes place in the ACC. Marquee game of the week. Clemson gets pushed to the limit, wins but doesn't cover against Wake Forest. DJU steps up, dominates for a 300-yard performance, 5 touchdowns, outduels really Sam Hartman that threw for 337 and 6 touchdowns. And when I say outduels, DJU got the victory, Sam Hartman didn't. But this is a very difficult matchup. When you look at the spread perspective, this line was 10.5 all off season. Now it's 6.5. But the numbers really favor Clemson. Let me tell you why. You just look at Clemson at home in Death Valley since 2015. 48-1 straight up against opponents, FCS and FBS. Only loss came against Nate Peterman and Pittsburgh. They've been pushed to the limit a couple of times, but have not lost. Secondly, you look at ACC opponents, just the dominance of Clemson straight up. Since 2014, 66-6 straight up against ACC opponents. You look at them last year at home, 6-0 at home, won those games by an average margin of victory of 21 points per game. I think the numbers really favor Clemson. And then from the spread perspective, there's only been 2 times over the last 6 years Clemson has been laying less than a touchdown. One came last year against Wake Forest and Sam Hartman. They laid 3.5 points. At home, they won that ball game by 21, and then 2016 they laid 5.5 against Gus Malzahn and Auburn. Week 1, they won that ball game as a close game, but they still won and covered as a 5.5 point favorite. They won 14-6, so it's very rare you get Clemson at home under a touchdown favorite. I think they dominate this ball game from start to finish. It might be close for 3 quarters. In the end, I think they tack on maybe a late touchdown and win this ball game by double digits. I like the fact that Clemson's running the football, averaging 183 yards on the ground. We talk about the difference between Clemson this year as opposed to even last year and the year before with Tony Elliott. The inconsistency in the running game. They were only averaging about $165 the past couple of seasons. Now they're up into the area of 183. That puts them into more manageable third down situations. That takes the pressure off of DJU. They pounded the rock for 188 against Wake Forest. I like Clemson in this spot. It's going to be Saturday night under the lights in Death Valley. I know Devin Leary is a very good quarterback. He came on last week against UConn, but when you just look at NC State as a whole on the road under Dave Doran, the last 3.5 years, right? The last 17 games, really, they're just 6-11 straight up on the road or on a neutral field site. They struggled week 1 against East Carolina. Give me Clemson laying 6.5 points in this ballgame to win and get the cover and move to 3-0 in the ACC conference. Another big battle. Great action in the Big 12. Another big battle takes place in Baylor. Baylor's a 1.5, 2-point favorite over Oklahoma State. It's a rematch of the Big 12 championship game. Baylor has won 3 of the last 5. They got the victory last year, 21-17. They lost in the regular season in Stillwater as a 3.5-point road underdog. They were in striking distance, and Jalen Warren tacked on a touchdown to give Oklahoma State the 10-point cover in that ball game, laying 3.5. They won by 10. But this game comes down to 2 factors. I'm not a buyer of Blake Shapen. I know that he stepped up last week. He made enough plays against Iowa State, but I'm still not sold on Shapen as a whole and this team as a whole in terms of Baylor. Look at 2 games in particular in terms of the running game against big physical defensive lines. BYU, they only averaged 2.9 yards per carry. Last week against Iowa State, a very good physical run defense, only averaged 2.9 yards per carry. This is an Oklahoma State defense giving up 111 yards on the ground. I think that travels well. I like the experience of Spencer Sanders in this ballgame. I know last year he threw 4 interceptions in the Big 12 championship game, but they have 2 big play wide receivers, Brennan Presley and Braden Johnson, 26 receptions, 466 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. I think they could challenge Baylor's secondary over the top. Deckers was able to exploit that defense for over 250 yards. He threw for 274. I think Sanders could have a big day, catching 1.5 points on the road. I think Oklahoma State strikes the upset. it could be a close game early, but I think Oklahoma State does win this game by a touchdown or more in Waco. Another big battle takes place in the Big 12. We have Texas Tech catching a touchdown and a half, 7.5, 8 on the road against K-State. K-State has won the last 6 games, the last 4 by an average margin of victory of 7.3 points per game. Picked up this victory last year. 25-24 was the game that got Matt Wells fired because Tech held a huge first half lead before Deuce Vaughn and Skylar Thompson led the comeback in that ball game. When you look at Texas Tech right now, they are playing lights out. That was a gutty home win over Texas. They made second half adjustments. They converted 6 of 8 fourth down attempts, and their quarterback, Donovan Smith, is a battle-tested kid that is not afraid to step up and sling it all over the yard. I know Kansas State got the victory as a double-digit underdog against Oklahoma, but this is an offense still with Adrian Martinez averaging 145 passing yards per game. I know Martinez threw for 234 and ran for 148 yards on the ground. Vaughn added over 100 yards, but this is still an offense in Kansas State that's predicated on the running game. That goes right into the front 7 of Texas Tech. Think about the teams that Texas Tech has played in terms of rushing attacks. Houston, a very physical rushing attack. You have last week with Texas, where they only gave up $140, and NC State, they held them in check to around 130 yards as well. This is a very athletic front 7. Their secondary still playing very good. Even after they gave up 2 big plays to Texas, they made second half adjustments and forced Hudson Card into mistakes and forced turnovers. They're going on the road. They're catching a touchdown and a half. I'm a buyer of Joey McGuire. I'm a buyer of the speed of the Red Raiders. I think they strike the upset over Kansas State. I think they have the edge in terms of the quarterback. I think their secondary is better than Kansas State's, and this is still an offense in Texas Tech that is averaging 367 passing yards per game. They're never out of it, and I like the running back duo of Taj Brooks and Roderick Thompson going up against the front 7 of Kansas State. I think Texas Tech wins the ball game outright in this ball game. Another battle is Iowa State. Iowa State's won 7 straight over Kansas. Kansas, dynamic win. They get the win. They get the cover over Duke as a 7.5-point favorite. Jalen Daniels is playing lights out. They're converting 66% on third down conversions. They're able to challenge defenses over the top, but I think they're up against it in the interior against Iowa State. Iowa State has won 7 straight in the series, the last 2 by 41 points per game. They won this ball game last year and by 49. The year before, they won by 30. I don't think it stops in this matchup. I like Hunter Deckers on the road. I like the physicality of Iowa State. I like Matt Campbell laying a short number up against a team that he has dominated. Coming off a loss, I think Jarrell Brock and that physical offensive line wear down Kansas in this matchup. Might be close for a half, but I do like Iowa State to dominate this ball game anywhere from 10 to 13 points on the road in Kansas. Those are the selections for this weekend. UCLA, Clemson, A&M, we got Texas Tech, and we have Iowa State. If you want them all, they'll be up on the website with Monday Night Lines. Tune into Carver and Lisi in College Football Today. Have a great week, everyone. I'll see you on Saturday.